The K-Jazz Show, Sundays on Kofifi FM 97.2.
On today's edition, wherever in the world you may be listening from, this is indeed the K-Jazz Show, your Sunday to everyday favorite, where the music breathes, the stories matter, and the artists who are shaping the sound of now find a home. And today we welcome pianist, composer, sound architect, and musical storyteller, whose music has been described as ethereal, heavy-hitting, extremely funky, and completely infectious. Born in Detroit, forged in the Midwest, sharpened in New York, and now moving across, the global stage. And this is a musician who is not just playing the piano, but he is redefining the instrument and how it speaks in modern music. Has worked with artists like Topaz Jones, Cleo Reed, Barise, including Tivon Penicott. And of course, somewhere in between, he's found music directing, sound designing, and composing. And yet he is quietly becoming one of the most sought after pianists of his generation. Kofifi FM, the K-Jazz Show, would like to introduce Idris, Frederick.
Her color is purple, powerful. Every freckle in her being radiates when she opens her mouth to sing. She is royalty, shining like the moon just before the sun sets. Her colors shine bright like diamonds. Black is the color of her skin. Iridescent, setting out mountains with her words and placing valleys every place that her foot touches. Her colors push out the darkness that lies within the essence of man's existence. Her colors are bright, shining in the night, only light can push out the darkness, right? Every person can be unique in their own way. Her colors pave the streets for future generations to let their colors radiate their strength. Her colors glow, her lights flow, her children's colors begin to show. She begins to fill the void in which no light can grow. And this is why we must all follow in her footsteps and allow our colors to brighten like stars.
Welcome to the show, brother.
Good to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
A pleasure is always ours. Now, you know what? Let's go back. Let's go home to Detroit, which is one of the most musically exciting cities in the world. We think about that alongside Motown, jazz, gospel, techno. How did growing up in Detroit anyway, shape the way you hear and approach music today?
It's kind of interesting. I mean, I didn't really play music in Detroit. I kind of only been playing for about 11 years. I think I started actually around the Indiana area, Kentuckiana. So I feel like Detroit just is in my bones, the music of the city is just inside of me innately.
And Idris, before New York, you spent your early, career performing around the Midwest. As you just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about those years, and what did the Midwest scene, I guess, teach you that you did not learn in New York?
Man, the Midwest scene taught me how to hustle, just how to keep grinding and take as many gigs as I can, play with as many people as I can, as many styles of music as I can, And New York just kind of helped me hone in on jazz specifically and the more complex styles, yeah.
You studied at the New School of Jazz in New York City, which has produced some incredible musicians, South Africans, such as Linda Skakani, Kabelo Mokhatla, Lesedi Ntsane, and many wonderful names, who are all part of the alumni, What was the biggest musical or personal lesson that you took from that one experience?
Well, I mean, I actually didn't graduate from the new school. I think I went for like 2.5 years. Tuition was just a bit too high for me, But I took some great lessons with some amazing musicians like Shy Maestro, Gerard D'Angelo, Chris Davis, Sylvie Courvoisier, just to name a few. But yeah, I learned a lot from them, just from their experience in the genre.
Yeah. And how did you find the scene? Maybe let's talk about that. When you arrived and you're this hopeful, musician who hasn't really defined it in terms of what jazz, or am I a jazz musician? But you found this incredible scene, that was open for your interpretation and your exploration. Let's talk about that.
I would say the scene found me, like I came to New York to study and to meet people and to grow my dream and to see where it could go and what it could become. And shortly, it didn't take too long, and I was playing with people and exploring genres like R&B and classical and just singer-songwriter stuff. I didn't start getting into the jazz scene until fairly recently. I'd say I'm still trying to break into it. It's a journey.
Kofifi this Sunday. We are in the company of Idris Frederick, who is, of course, currently traveling the European scene in concert with one of the friends of the K-Jazz show. His name is Tariq McDowell. And of course, this Sunday, he stops for a moment. And as we celebrate the arrival of his debut offering, Internal Reflections, a project he says he wants to change the world through. Idris, your music is often described as ethereal, but also extremely funky and etc. and etc. How do you define the balance, between atmosphere and groove, and I suppose the head and the body in your music?
That's a tough question. I don't know. I feel like I just try to keep the groove as the main focus, because at the end of the day, as humans, we all innately gravitate towards rhythm and groove first, and I feel like the atmospheric and the harmonic aspect of it, which is what I fall in love with most, is what I try to incorporate on top of that. But I try to keep in mind not to get lost in it. And not to get lost in myself in terms of writing for myself and going over people's heads. Like I don't want to overwhelm people with with my chaotic mind. So I try to delegate it in a proper way.
Before you and I got together this Sunday, I've been researching and listening a little bit closer to some of the works. Wherever it's available. And you've worked with a wide range of artists, from singers to jazz musicians to alternative to maybe even soul musicians, artists maybe. When you are directing or accompanying somebody, what is your philosophy maybe if you're going to zone in on your instrument, the piano?
I feel like it's something I'm working on also right now, which is to take myself out of the equation and to think about the music alone, what the music needs, what the people would like to hear, specifically what the artist wants for the music, And so I try to play that role as best as I can while, staying myself and staying true to what I like at the same time.
I mean, you're not only a pianist, but you're also a sound designer and a musical director. The trick question is, what role, and I'm asking you to choose between your favorite things right now, what role feels comfortable? Do you see yourself as a pianist, a producer, a composer, or just simply a storyteller?
I would definitely say a storyteller, but I'd say right now I'm extremely focused on piano. Like I'm trying to become the best pianist I can, and the instrument is so deep. There's such a deep lineage of it, so it's like a lifetime of digging and practice. But I also have deep interest in sound design, and that's also a huge practice, and film scoring and all that stuff. It's just like I have to give each one of those its day, each one of those its proper time. I don't like to do them all at the same time, if that makes sense.
Of course, he is spending time with us this Sunday. I want to talk about the project, which we are sharing throughout this, conversation, you and I together. Internal Reflection. Let's start there.
Man, I actually released that in the middle of tour with an artist named Vinna, and I was just like being a sideman, and I was like, man, it's time. It's time to step out. I have so much to say. And I was really just reflecting on myself and where I've gone so far and how I've gotten here and what I hope to do. So it was really just a spur of the moment title, and I felt like it fit for what I was feeling in the moment.
And what are some of who are some of the travelers that you've got on this project, and what are their contributions to that?
Well, we got Dom Gervais on drums. Dom is a rhythmic mastermind. He has a super unique voice. It's unlike anybody else's. It's like in between jazz and hip hop and just all the things he loves, it's beautiful. And then you have Mwanzi Harriet on guitar, who's also an insane new voice on the scene. Just joined the Herbie Institute of Jazz, I believe. And then Ryan Easter on trumpet, who is another incredible voice on the scene, just trailblazing. And I think on some records you have Dean Torrey on upright bass. He's an amazing, unique, just powerhouse, just drives the band and also inspires me harmonically and rhythmically. We think very similarly in that way. And on the other side, electric bass will be Max Spinelli, who was just a virtuoso,
And you're currently in Europe,
Yeah.
Idris. How have the audiences there, responded to the music compared to, the United States? I think, as part of an ensemble, there's always an opportunity for you to share some of your versions of things, some of your compositions, and the collaborations with, we mentioned earlier, Tariq. Let's talk about your reflection of the scene there. Europe is very interesting when it comes to jazz, as compared to, our Johannesburg and, the United States.
Yeah, yeah. I can't wait to visit Johannesburg for the first time one day and see how that scene is. That
Yes,
sounds
sir.
exciting. But the Europe scene, it really depends on the kind of crowd. Like we played in Italy, and then there were a lot of students there, and they were extremely receptive and like extremely high energy. Same thing in Stockholm. There's a lot of students and a lot of people who were just eager to learn and hear the music, and that showed in their reaction to the songs and into the solos. And then other audiences are a bit older, and they've probably been to millions of concerts, and they're just, enjoying more quietly, but it still moves them. But they may not show it as much verbally or physically, But it's it varies from country to country, I'd say, or from club to club.
And of course, Coffee FM, we are in the company of Idris Frederick on Coffee FM 97.2 this Sunday. And of course, he is our featured guest. And throughout this conversation, you and I have also been listening closer to the new project, Internal Reflections, exclusively here on Coffee FM 97.2, because we always give you the front seat, the front row seat anyway, to jazz and her happenings. And of course, if you've just joined us, our conversation will be on the podcast platforms for you to rewind shortly before we wrap up today's edition here of the K Jazz Show. Now, Idris, every musician, sir, has a moment where they realize, man, this is exactly what I was meant to do. Do you remember that moment? And as always, I ask the guests on the show, when did you fall in love with jazz?
I feel like that moment for me was moving to New York. I feel like I knew before that, but moving to New York was like that step I needed to take to make it serious, to really dive into it and get the most out of it, I'd say, Yeah. And I'd say I fell in love with jazz fairly recently. Like I've always been in love with it, but lately I've really been just diving deep and studying it for what it is and taking my time and getting into the intricacies and just listening a lot,
And who are you listening to? Who are some of your inspirations? Let's talk about those.
A lot of vocalists lately: Carmen McRae, Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald, Art Tatum, Earl Garner, Eddie Wilson, Cecil Taylor. Just honestly, just the range goes on and on. Herbie, Chick, Ahmad Jamal. Just I try to be a sponge, and not keep anything out of my ears. Try to listen to literally everything if I can.
And of course, if you want to talk about how, the person that's listening to us in this conversation this Sunday and hearing your music for the very first time, what do you hope they feel before they understand even what you're playing?
Hope they feel a sense of hope and inspiration to just go for it. Even if the idea doesn't land, even if it's, I don't know, even if you don't think people will like it, just to do it anyways, try something new, play a chord that may not make sense and then make it make sense.
Yeah. And talking about, the come up, we've witnessed you being with Croker and performing alongside anyway, and many other greats. What were some of your moments, of maybe favorite moments, to be, correct, within the collaborations? And who are you trying to work with next? Who are some of the musicians on your wish list, if that list even exists?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one because all the musicians on my wish list are almost peers. Like we quietly know of each other, but maybe haven't had a chance to play yet. But some of the favorite moments I'd say were just traveling. Seeing all the places I've seen and being blessed to just play for audiences that don't speak the same language I do, and being able to connect through the common thread of music. It's beautiful.
what are you listening to, personally, in terms of, music outside of the US? And who are some of the interesting artists that you found? You can even include some South Africans if you've ever actually listened to them, because I know we all listen to you guys. I'm sure you guys listen to us.
Yeah.
But who are some of the most interesting, musicians that you look at and be like, I think that's interesting and I want to collaborate?
There's this pianist, Ndogo. I literally can't even pronounce his name.
Makatini.
Yes, he's amazing. I've met him once or twice, but it'd be nice to just pick his brain,
Yeah.
There's this Arabic band. I can't think of their name. I'm so bad with the names of these bands because I don't listen to them as much as I'm listening to jazz right now. But like I have phases, and I feel like that was my phase before this phase I'm in now. It's just listening to a lot of world music, and that's kind of in my sound, I guess, innately. But as far as South African music goes, I would definitely love some recommendations.
Oh, so you've got the right plug. I'm going to plug you into all of them, and of course, and then some, as we lead and we put it out to the universe that you will find yourself in Johannesburg one of the days, and you can actually, collaborate with all of them. You've said that you wanted to change the lives of people through the power of music. That's big. That's beautiful. A wonderful mission. But what does changing lives through music mean to you personally?
I think it could be as simple as changing how someone thinks about humanity or their neighbor or someone who thinks differently than them. Like I feel like music has the power to just open people's minds and expose them to different experiences, much like traveling does and seeing different cultures. Yeah, it's a powerful but effective tool.
Absolutely. And we believe that here on the K-Jazz Show. And of course, exploring different avenues of jazz is what we do every single Sunday. It is the jazz circuit. And of course, we did promise that we're connecting you with the world of jazz, bringing it all the way from wherever it is in the world. And this Sunday, we're spending time with Idris. He is a pianist, and he is here talking to us all the way in Europe. Originally, he's from the US, but we caught him along the way, and he managed to sit down and take a moment and spend time with us as we reflect on this brand new project. And he calls it Internal Reflections. Yes, a very interesting title. And of course, much interesting music itself. And I managed to spend time with it, so as we got ready for this conversation. Now, as we close, Idris, your next thing, the project is out, right? What's that thing that you're doing besides wish listing Johannesburg as a performance city? What's that about?
Well, I'm currently working on just playing more gigs if I can with my own music, trying to book a tour for the end of the year maybe, and also already thinking about the next release and how I can make it better and be proactive about promoting it and just make the music more cohesive and make it more of a story. And because even the project that I put out now isn't even all of the songs that I recorded in that session. It's just a handful that I was just like, I need to get those out there right now.
But if I had to jump into that, why are you making us wait? It's just 4 tracks, right? You could add like 10 more, right?
Yeah, I think it's because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I want to really make sure that when I share my voice, it's intentional, and I don't want to share things that don't properly represent me. And I feel like some of the things I recorded, those records were recorded maybe like a year or 2 years ago. And it was just a long process of being able to afford to mix and master it and actually put it out, So the ones that I didn't release, I just want to approach them from a different way that I think would be better, much better. And yeah,
and if you could share, I love that. And if you could share, insights into the next releases, what can we expect? I mean, who is working there? And how different is, I suppose, the EP?
I'd say the next release will probably be more, it'll be cleaner, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like this one was it was kind of free a bit, it was fun, it was playful. The next one will still be fun and playful, but it'll be professional at the same time. It'll be like, I'm here I'm an artist. This is a product that's ready to sell and distribute and listen to for all types of people. And hopefully we'll have all types of genres on it, not just jazz and stuff, you know. Yeah.
Well, you might just be infamous for deviating with the jazz class, because I mean, whenever we present jazz on this show, it's always just pure jazz. If you don't deviate, then they're like, maybe he's not jazz. So are you not afraid, that you'd lose audiences because of that?
Nah, not at all. I feel like music speaks, and if it's good music, it should speak to people who like good music. Like, if people who like jazz are usually people who like good music. And I'm not gonna like start making pop. Like, I mean, maybe one day. Like, I feel like being a Herbie Hancock in that way, to where like I touch every genre one day. Like, that's the goal. But this next one's definitely gonna be a mixture of some hardcore jazz, some swing, and some stuff that you can just put on passively and listen to and groove to.
All right. Well, we look forward to all of it, and of course, we welcome you to come back and share all of it, when you officially release it. And of course, thank you for the music, the conversation, and the spirit that you bring to this instrument. I mean, it's always a beautiful thing for us here on the KJazz Show, Idris, to introduce artists who are not just playing music, but they're shaping the sound of the future. And of course, we wish you so well on the travels here on the European tour. Continued inspiration, that too. And we look forward to welcoming you back to South Africa very soon, officially on the stages. I'm going to be there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Looking forward to it. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
It is always a pleasure, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, he is pianist, composer, Idris Frederick. And of course, as always, he was on the KJazz Show.